Rainbow Six Siege is filled with operators with monumental depth in their gadget that can make learning them difficult. However, there is one operator in particular who comes to mind as Siege's most difficult operator to use, and balancing changes levied to them have made that situation even worse. So follow me as I tell the story of Rainbow Six Siege's most difficult operator. For the start of our story today, we must go back to the operator's release in Operation Grimsky. This season brought two new operators, Maverick and Clash. Clash would become one of the most hated operators ever added. This is because she is a shield operator with a shock ability that can slow down the enemy, and this ability can be frustrating to play against without a coordinated team since she's kind of hard to counter. But Clash also has the downside of being an operator without the ability to take gunfights effectively, which very quickly caused her to be one of the most unpopular operators, despite her being annoying to defeat. Maverick, the topic of today's video, was also unpopular but for completely different reasons. This is because Maverick's blowtorch is difficult to use. The way this blowtorch functions is that it allows Maverick to burn holes in reinforcements with a set amount of fuel. He can destroy reinforced hatches by going around the edge of them with his torch, and reinforce walls by going across the top of the wall with his torch, then burning through the bottom of the wall. This is strong because it allows Maverick to be the only operator in the game that can bypass Mute, Bandit, and Cade directly. And on paper, I'm sure it seems like this gadget is pretty self-explanatory. However, the reason Maverick's gadget was considered to be so difficult to use is because it is time consuming and there is a lot of risk involved. While burning through a wall, Maverick can get shot through his own holes, defenders can throw explosives through them, and he can get ran out on. This, combined with the fact that his blowtorch was extremely time consuming, pushed a lot of less experienced players away and led to the reputation of him being hard to use, especially since to even fully open a reinforced wall, he had to have assistance from a teammate to blow open the soft wall. This put him in an interesting balancing position that Ubisoft would try their best to fix over the course of the next few seasons, as you'll see throughout this video. However, another thing that you'll notice is that their changes would have an unintended side effect on Maverick going forward. The first of these changes would come in Year 5 Season 1, or Operation Void Edge. Operation Void Edge brought some great new content into R6. There was the introduction of two new operators in the form of Iana the Attacker and Oryx the Defender, and we got a rework to Oregon as the map. Iana pretty quickly became a popular choice amongst rank stars due to her good guns, access to frag grenades, and her gadget supplying infinite drones. She would even see a lot of playtime in professional play as well due to her ability to pick up frags with ease and to help the team clear out rooms. However, Oryx was not nearly as influential on launch. He was looked at as a casual operator due to how fun he was to play, but from a competitive standpoint, he didn't really offer much to the team at large. This is because all his gadget really was a dash that allowed him to move around the map faster, and he also had the passive ability to jump up hatches. It didn't really provide any utility to the team, it just allowed you to rotate a lot quicker. So the operators didn't end up having a huge effect on the meta, but the balancing changes would have an effect on our operator's story. That's because in this patch, Ubisoft would give Maverick frag grenades. This may seem like a small change, and for most other operators this would be a relatively small change, but it was huge for Maverick, especially since at the time cooking nades was still a thing. This change made Maverick much easier to use because you could now open walls yourself. Before, if Maverick turned a reinforced wall soft, he would have to have a teammate like Zofia or Ash come and open the soft wall. However, now Maverick could cook his nades and, if timed right, destroy the wall without any outside help. This made Maverick stronger, no doubt, but it did make his skill ceiling even higher, which continued the perception that he was difficult to use because now you had to successfully burn through a wall without getting shot and then time a nade properly to open it. Not to mention the fact that he had very little room for error. If you wasted too much fuel in your canisters, then you wouldn't have enough left to open the other walls you planned on opening or to get any additional hatches open, which made people fear playing him even more because they didn't want to let down their team. To help make this less of an issue and to make him more popular in lower ranks, they would target him with another update in Year 5 Season 3, or Operation Shadow Legacy. Operation Shadow Legacy was released and was immediately considered to be one of the best seasons ever. This is because of how different it was from the norm. This season, instead of bringing two new operators, brought one licensed operator from a different Ubisoft game and a ton of quality of life changes and other forms of content. Some examples of this include the addition of secondary hard breach gadget, the new Ping 2.0 system, which was a little controversial but it was still welcomed, a ton of new weapon sights, the introduction of map bans to ranked, another relatively controversial change, Thatcher's rework, the Chachanka rework, and much more. This is why the season was so loved. These new changes, while they may have been controversial, did switch up the meta significantly, and they made the game significantly different than what it was before. And when combined with the new operator and the Chalet rework, this season was packed to the brim with content. But what we are here for today is a relatively smaller change in comparison that was given to Maverick. This change was him getting an additional canister added to the ammo of his blowtorch. The thought process process behind this was to make his blowtorch more forgiving. Since before this change, it was very hard to open multiple surfaces with his blowtorch if you didn't perfectly conserve every ounce of fuel. This addition of an extra canister allowed room for mistake without it screwing your round, and it increased the possibilities for Maverick when in the hands of high-ranked or pro players. This combined with the addition of grenades made Maverick much stronger, and it was a step in the right direction to making him easier to get into as a less experienced player, and it also allowed him to compete with some of the other hard breachers in the game. However, there was still a lot needed to be done to improve his effectiveness in lower ranks. But sadly for Maverick, the next and final change that would be levied his way was a nerf that would put him in the state he is today: difficult to use and underpicked. This change would come in Year 7 Season 3, or Operation Brutal Swarm. Operation Brutal Swarm would be a disappointing season for a couple of reasons. Firstly, the operator that came with the release of said operation was Grim. He, as many of you likely know, was the weakest operator Siege had ever seen up until this point. His gadget, his B launcher, was clunky, difficult to use, and it often ended up getting you killed, which resulted in Grim's win rate and pick rate being the worst of any operator I've ever seen in my years of playing Siege. This, combined with the fact that he had really weak secondary gadgets, made him such a bad choice in the competitive environment that he would quickly become the least picked operator in professional play as well. And it wasn't like he was fun and casual either. Literally no one wanted to play Grim, and it's honestly the worst state I've ever seen an operator get released in. And the map this season wasn't much better. That's because this season saw the addition of Stadium 2021 to the map pool. This map was designed for a limited time game mode back in 2021, and it was never meant to be released as a permanent map. You can tell this by the fact that it's literally just coastline and border mashed together. It was not designed with ranked in mind, and it was just a map hastily put together for an event. And because of all of the flaws that came along with it, the map would quickly become the second most banned map in ranked. So the season wasn't off to a great start in the content department, but maybe you could pick things up with the balancing changes, right? Well, this season did have some great changes to help shift the game in the right direction. We got the weapon recoil change to LMGs to completely kill the LMG meta. We got a ton of buffs to recoil altering attachments, which made them much more effective and actually resulted in competition between them. The suppressor's damage reduction was removed, which caused it to also be a competitive option. The impact EMP was added to the game, which allowed for a new alternative to Thatcher, which was huge for the meta, and frag grenades had their range reduced. However, obviously what we are here for today is the change to Maverick, which was basically Ubisoft walking back nades from his kit. This immediately hurt Maverick's versatility since he was back to having to rely on other teammates to finish opening walls for him. And with this nerf, they didn't release a buff to solve any of the issues plaguing Maverick, causing him to never get picked in the first place. This has resulted in Maverick pretty much being an operator relegated to professional play and the higher echelon of players in Siege. But even amongst them, I don't see why Ubisoft sees a problem with Maverick having nades, but doesn't do anything to deal with Ace just dominating in the hard breaching role. This part of balancing recently really doesn't make sense, and it sucks to see an operator like Maverick, who has a lot of potential with the right balancing, being relegated to an operator widely viewed to be a waste of too much time and too difficult to use for the average person. Maverick is an operator clearly designed to be a high risk, high reward operator, because you have to get up close to the wall, you have to spend a lot of time on the wall to open it, and you have to risk getting shot in the process. I think because of how high risk Maverick is, I don't see him being able to open a wall on his own being a bad thing, because he has to risk a lot in the process to do it. We'll just have to wait and see how Ubisoft handles his balancing going forward. But if their recent patches are any indication, then he likely won't receive any life-altering changes for a very long time. Hopefully they'll throw him a bone at some point soon, because I think he can be useful if given the right tools. And I also think that the hard breaching meta needs a shake up significantly, since right now Ace is just dominating all of them. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's story of Rainbow Six Siege's most difficult operator. If you did, I make Siege content just like this twice a week, so go subscribe to the channel and follow me on Twitter if you don't want to miss the next upload. Now, if you want to watch another video just like this one, a video will be popping up on your screen right now that I'm sure you all enjoy. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.